It's the Short Time Wrestling Podcast from the Speakeasy as I'm back from Serbia in the World Championship celebrating a team runner-up finish for the United States in women's freestyle and a team championship for men's freestyle. Another one. Good ones, even though those guys from that big old country that spans most of Asia and part of Europe wasn't there. That's immaterial. A lot of medals, a lot of champions on the men's and women's side. But today talking Premier National League with Jared Lawrence from the PINnacle Wrestling School, which is, as the crow flies from where I sit here in New Brighton, like maybe 4 miles. Maybe 4 miles away, yet we have to do this via this thing. We can't do this in person. I don't know why we still haven't figured this out, Jared.
That's my bad.
It's also Paulson's bad because he's been talking about coming down here to the Speakeasy for a while. He was actually in here before it was this. So who knows? I found that you're also much more reliable on the text messages than he is. So we got this scheduled pretty quickly.
I'm younger.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. But he's got, like, his kids are in college. They should, or in high school. They should know. Anyway, he should be down with that. Anyway, today talking P&L, which is not a profit and loss statement in this particular situation. Although you are a business owner, you know all about that. At your, I think, what's this, the third facility you've had PINnacle at now?
Well, this is our second one that Paulson and I have actually, owned ourselves and are leasing.
All right, yeah, and this one's much bigger, and it's I've been in both of them. The last time I was in the first one, yeah, Jake Clark, for some reason, talked me into going to Greco practice, and that was probably at this point 7 years ago. I think my quads are still sore from the amount of pummeling and then the poor soccer, because I am not a soccer player. But anyway, today
it's a big part of it. The soccer warm up is a big deal of international wrestling.
Yeah, I remember doing a lot of videos from the training center back in the day about soccer, but it was pretty bad, to say the least. But today, talking a new concept, new dynamic, something actually new to the sport of wrestling, something that hasn't really been tried in this particular manner. Of course, we're familiar with putting teams together and putting on tournaments, but the Premier National League is a collection of 8 high-level, and I say high-level, I mean high-level wrestling clubs from around the country coming together. And that's basically all I know about this. So that's why we've got Jared on to talk about this. So let's just run down the clubs that are involved in this coming this weekend in Chicago, in the Chicago area at Aurora Christian. PINnacle School of Wrestling, or PINnacle Wrestling School, excuse me. I've got to get that terminology right, out of Minnesota. The M2 Training Center, which is David Taylor out of Pennsylvania. Askren Wrestling Academy, Ben Askren out of Wisconsin. Young Guns in PA, which is, the Strip Matters and such. We've got Izzy Style, Izzy Martinez out of Illinois. Valiant Prep in Arizona, which is that Larkin guy you kind of know. Daniel Cormier's Wrestling Academy in California. And MWC, Zach Dominguez's club in Nebraska. You want to talk about the heavy hitters of elite international style wrestling clubs? You've got 8 of them. How the heck did this come together, Jared?
Well, it didn't come together overnight. It's been a process, probably about 2 years. A lot of it started with Strip Matter and myself, just trying to figure out how we could do different things. And we were doing a hammer camp and working with connections. And my daughter plays for a soccer league called ECNL, Elite Clubs National League. And it is incredible of what they do as far as pushing girl soccer players to college. It was like before COVID, 2019, I think they had 1,600 senior girls, and 1,200 of those girls are all playing soccer in college. 800 of them are playing Division I. And I was thinking about this, and I was like, I wonder if this could be possible in the terms of wrestling. And we all know each other. We're all good friends. We've all traveled, usually like overseas with some people. And so it basically started out with 4. It was Strip Matter, PINnacle, Izzy, and Askren. Those are like the first 4 that were just really communicating for, I don't know, maybe like a year, but it was like Zooms, 30-minute Zooms, talking about ideas and understanding what do we want to accomplish out of this, right? And I think for the whole understanding needs to be, it's for the development, but not just development of the wrestlers, development of the parents, the coaches. We want a league to where people can go to an event and put it on the line. Like, I get it. When I'm out there wrestling, like, it's war. But at the end of that match, I need to be able to shake my opponent's hand, win or lose, and have respect for him. And like, you know what? You're a wrestler. I'm a wrestler. We're throwing it on the line together. Outcome is how it works out, and it doesn't always end that way. I mean, there's a lot of times I've been to a lot of like these, you know, elementary duels, schoolboy duels, middle school duels, and there's athletes that are fighting. There's parents that are fighting. There's parents that are fighting kids. There's parents that are fighting other kids, and like I'm a big disbeliever of that. I just don't think it needs to be that way. I get it, it's going to get heated at times, but that's the message that we want, and all of us are on the same page. Just because we're in a fight doesn't mean that we need to think that it's a street fight after the match.
I
And
mean,
it goes along with everything, and so we can control. I can control my parents at this event. I will sit them all down and I'll say, listen, hey, there may be a bad call. There may be something that you don't like, but we are going to respect the league. We're going to respect these other coaches. We're all in it together. We're trying to do something that's never been done before. And they will listen to that. And hopefully all the other teams will do the same thing so that we can do this and you can grow. It's a network. Why can't these kids start networking now? But if they look at it like, hey, you wrestled, I wrestled you, and you beat me, I hate you. I'm never talking to you again. Eric Larkin is the guy from Valiant that we went after, right? He beat me in the national finals. How cool is that? Like now we're working together. We're talking to each other on a weekly basis of not just about the league. We'll start talking about training, other things. They're running a private school. Like how it's just cool. The information that we're gathering from everybody is a great network, and I think it'll just build. And that's the idea on it. How do we build this wrestling network, build the league, make it something really unique and really awesome?
yeah, you talked about the girls' soccer standpoint because I think anybody that's been in any hotel anywhere during the summer months, they've run across the travel soccer, they've run across the ASA softball. That's one where I've got a lot of experience in, having covered a lot of that fast pitch softball, where they go to these tournaments, these mega tournaments, to try to qualify their team for nationals. So we've seen it with the AAU basketball, which is that's where you get recruited in college basketball. It's not how good you're on your high school team. It's what are you doing in Virginia. It was the Boo Williams Summer League or the Boo Williams AAU, for example. Now we've got our massive tournaments on we've got all the Wildcat groups, got the NHSCA Nationals, my home group back home, the Virginia Challenge with the elementary and middle school stuff, and then of course USA Wrestling with Fargo Junior Duels, Cadet Duels, or now it's number suit. But anyway, so I'm looking at the foundations here. You're saying this is the beginning of something that could maybe grow into something that big, or is it just you're looking to go, okay, we don't need to be 15,000 clubs deep, or is that maybe something you can go as big as like the ASA softball or those
No, I mean,
select soccer?
I wouldn't put a cap on it, but like right now, our plan is 8 teams this year, 16 teams year two, 24 teams year three, and 32 teams year four. And then at that point, we can kind of sit back and decide, hey, do we need this do we want this to keep growing? What do we want as far as it to work, from a business, aspect?
All right, couple things that jump out at me too. We're not knowing anything. We talking freestyle? We talking Greco? We talking folk style? We talking a hybrid
It's
of
going to
all
be both.
three?
It's going to be both. So we started with those four. We added Valiant, we added DC, we added M2, and Midwest. Right. So every one of these places is all huge on freestyle and Greco, mainly more freestyle. But we got Paulson, and he'll go to bat really hard for Greco.
Zach Dominguez, same thing with
Zach
NWC.
Dominguez too. Yes, those two will go to bat for it pretty hard, and they'll do well with it. But everybody else is a big believer of it. We're in development, right? So I can go back and I can watch a folk style match. You watch a 9-year-old folk style match, and you're gonna see one or two takedowns. The kid's gonna get a takedown in the first 30 seconds, and he's gonna ride a tight waist chop position for another minute. And if he's good and he's strong, he'll get a bar or a wrist and he'll do some type of tilt. And then the second period, no matter what happens, everybody always chooses down. And then there's a tight waist ride chop position, and then maybe there's an escape. And then third period, the other person goes down, and there's another tight waist chop. It's like 70% of youth matches in folk style are in a tight waist chop position. whether they're chopping and getting a bar, chopping and getting a wrist. And if you go watch a freestyle match, there'll be 10 takedowns, right? So when we look at it from a development standpoint, we look at it and like, hey, our freestyle season has to get longer. And that's another reason where this league came into play. We're done wrestling folk style up through April. Like at the NCAA event, that should be the end of folk style season, in my opinion. Now, I'm not sure where everybody else in the club feels that same way. We're all big supporters of freestyle. Our spring event will be a freestyle event.
So the next question is we're talking, when you look at freestyle, naturally, you've got a lot of coaches that are all very USA Wrestling oriented. You're putting your kids to Fargo. You're trying to put them on U17, U20 world teams and such. So is it a fair assumption to say these are USA Wrestling sanctioned events?
They are right now. Who knows how it'll play out later on, but yes, right now they're USA Wrestling sanctioned event. Everybody's got to have a USA Wrestling card. I mean, that's how most of the clubs are anyway. So hopefully we can continue to work together with USA Wrestling in some way, shape, or form.
One thing I really like about the concept initially is this is the clubs. These are the kids that are in your rooms. It's not like, hey, we're putting a team together and it's a mega team of kids who have never wrestled with each other except for maybe once a year when they're on this team. So how important is the true club dynamic to this, and making sure here's the teams we want, here are the clubs we want, and we want to make sure these are, because your club casts a wide net. So it's not like it's just neighborhood kids. I mean, you've got kids coming in from Wisconsin and southern Minnesota, but that's part of the club. They're coming. So I guess I don't want to say residency requirement of the club, but the kids that are part of this for these clubs, they've got to be members of these clubs. They're the core of it, right?
Yes, they do. We're trying to get out of the idea of the super clubs, and that's where we're not doing a lot of dual tournaments. See, dual tournaments are great, and we will in the future, like year 3, we'll have a national dual tournament for the league. But I can only bring so many, right? I only can bring a set number of PINnacle kids, whatever that is, 14, 15, 16, try to funnel some through, versus we're bringing like 33 to this event. You have to have wrestle-offs, which also ends up being bad blood. What if I got 4 guys that want to weight? They're all really good. I only can bring only one of them gets the prize if it's all dual tournaments. And so, yes, we've all kind of been like, hey, we're going to get out of that. We want guaranteed matches. We want good matches. We want matches that are people that are a light caliber, that kind of thing. So we have a set of bylaws that actually you can't have anybody within like 250 miles. So I can't have somebody, we figured nobody's going to be coming more than 250 miles to come to PINnacle, right? So I can't show up an event with somebody that's, from Fargo.
And it's a bit of a haul. Now, it has been known to happen, but I mean, yes, there are some parents that have done that.
And if it really was, I would contact the board and I would say, hey, this guy comes to us every Sunday. Like we had Cameron Sikora, right? Mm-hmm. He was basically coming from Border West, which was
on the border.
3 hours. Yeah, 3.5 hours or so like that. So I would just present to the board like, hey, this guy is on our team. He is outside of that. It's just something that we can communicate to where nobody's trying to sneak something in. You have a set number of practice, which is really hard right now at the beginning stages. But like in the future, you will have to figure out how this person, they can't just come to, 5 practices a year and compete for P&L at these events, but all the clubs are in the same standpoint. We're trying to develop. I can't develop a kid if he comes 5 times. Mm-hmm. I need a kid to come 30 times a year for me to even have a chance to work with him.
Yeah, because sometimes I know that some clubs back in the past I've seen on the East Coast, I'm not calling out any club specifically, but I do know that like some of my college roommates, when they were coming through, showed up at a club once or twice, maybe to do a clinic or maybe as a guest because they were in town for another event, and then all of a sudden that's a name on their wall as like a Fargo All-American or something like that. I'm like, it's that dude, he was there one time. Come on. Whereas if you walk into your wrestling room in right there at PINnacle, you're looking like, well, every single one of those kids is a PINnacle kid, and some of them from the little kids. Some kids, they come and go, but for the most part, they're always going to be there, and you're going to claim them based on that much. Now, another thing you just brought up is okay, it's not a dual thing, and you've got kids, and you said, I I guess, similar skill levels. So you're gonna have different brackets based on, okay, elite, kind of the next level. I mean, how are you gonna pair these kids up with, I mean, do you
Yep.
even know
So
how
we
many
are
kids you're gonna
working.
have?
Yeah, so we are working with a system. We have a tier system right now, right? So you have people that are a tier one, which might be, you know, nationally ranked individuals, right? Fargo All Americans, Fargo national champs, that kind of thing. That would be a tier one. Tier two, you get down into like your state champions and that kind of stuff. Tier three would be your state placers, and tier four would be, your state entrance type stuff. And so along with that, we're trying to piece things in. It doesn't always end up being super smooth, and not everybody is in the same tier, and some people are moving around. And it is our first event, so we'll see where everybody's aligning, but that's the idea behind it.
So for something people may be familiar with, so let's look at Frank Papalizio's run a lot of events up in New York, and he's had this pool system. I think the Collegiate Classic,
Yep.
okay, where you're gonna get, okay, we're gonna put these four guys in, they're gonna wrestle each other, so you're gonna get guaranteed matches. It's gonna be kind
Very
of
similar
pooled
to
like
that.
that. Okay, cool.
Yep, very similar to that. Yep, and I've actually been to Frank's Journeyman in the fall. I'm actually going there in 2 weeks. I'm going there next weekend, taking about 10 guys there. I get along with him really well. Um, it would be nice to see if there's a way to incorporate him with PNL in the future, possibly.
Sharing of ideas, not the stealing of ideas, right?
Well, it's a network, right? That's what we're
Right.
talking about. If he had the same views of like, hey, maybe you guys are competitors, um, I'm not going to talk to you anymore, But he actually called me this morning, so it's the people that want to use the network ability, they can, and it's really nice. Like wrestlers tend to flock to each other. They tend to, we have something in common. That wrestling bond is a different bond than I can understand for other things. So
What about
it's nice.
age groups here? Are we talking all high school? We talking, like, I mean, what ages are the kids? Are we're all talking
We'll
just
go down
junior
to
cadet
we'll go
age?
down to fifth grade.
Okay.
When we again, this is all stuff that was talked about in year one. Like, what is this? What's the point? And we kind of sat back and said, hey, development starts around 10 years old. It's really hard for a kid below that to really understand wrestling in general and really start soaking in everything about it. Yes, you do have some kids that are younger that they can catch on really quick and they understand everything, but as a majority, we kind of said, hey, fifth grade and up is where we're going to start this competition. We don't need these kids competing, going crazy when they're 6 years old. Age 10 is when we can start that process. You start competing too early and too much. I am a believer of this. I think somebody has only so much live time in their life. And if you want to put all your live time in 6 to 8 and go wrestle every single weekend and hit multiple tournaments every single weekend. I mean, I know a lot of people that have done that. They hit tournaments on Friday and Saturday and then Saturday night, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they did it every weekend. And they were really good wrestlers at age 9. Really, really good. But not many of them made it all the way through. Really loving it by the time they're older.
Well, to that point, also, there's the chasing of the scholarship, so to speak. And you had talked about the soccer, and I remember, going back to softball. I was flying home from Virginia, and I remember sitting next to a softball player. She was from Coeur d'Alene, Iowa, and played college softball at Coastal Carolina. And she was like, "Yeah, I played for this team, and our high school team never really got recruited." So again, she had to play summer ball to get recruited. When you're with these clubs, with wrestling, especially at the Division I level, being so finite in the terms of number of schools we have, we've got over 200 something softball programs at the Division I level. Of wrestling, we're at 81. Granted, we're growing, program by program, with schools reclassifying from Division II, for example. But nobody that's a Division I coach out there doesn't know you guys exist. So it's not like, PINnacle kids, you guys have college coaches come in multiple times a year to check out kids that they're recruiting, and it saves them a trip from going to 15 high schools. They can go to one club. So that exposure, on the exposure side for the older athletes, is it, where is the additional benefit coming from there? Because a lot of these kids are already known prospects, and your clubs are already known. So getting maybe that next level kid in front of these coaches, how are you doing that for that, maybe that next tier of Division I schools or those Division II and Division III schools? Say, hey, we want your kids too.
Correct. I think that's a huge point. Division One guys, a lot of those guys they're already at Fargo. They're already doing it stuff. So they're getting recognized at Super 32. They're getting recognized at Fargo. But there is another tier. I mean, we don't have 33 guys going to Super 32. So some of the people that are at this event are not going there. They're good wrestlers. Whether they'll be Division One by the time they get out of high school, that's up to the wrestler, right? But our job is to get them in front of as many college coaches as possible at every level. Like, I'm a very big believer of trying to use wrestling to help out with an education. If I can help a person's life through getting them an education, that is really important to me. Like, I get that they have dreams, and if their dream is to be a world team member, like, I'm going to do my best to work with that, right? Like that, I get that. But at the end of the day, how many people are going to make a living off wrestling? So and as far as I goes, in my own personal opinion, if I can try to help somebody better their life through school, I'm not saying it doesn't have to be like work ethic. I mean, I have a kid named Reed Ballantyne that was a Stillwater kid. He was a Pinnacle ever since he's little, and he didn't want to go to college. He has started his own landscape company, and he's doing an amazing job through the work ethic. So however I can help that work ethic push kids to college, push, to better their life, I'm in.
Yeah, and we can also look at an example, Paxton Crease, for example, Shakopee kid that's come through Pinnacle, and he's at St. Cloud State, Division II, and Tyler Wells from up in Princeton, another kid that committed to St. Cloud State. So the options, and there's been Pinnacle kids go to Concordia, Division III. They've gone, then they've looked at, okay, we're not just, obviously you've got a couple Gophers running the club. You're not sending everybody to the U because there's, again, finite amount of roster spots there, but they're going to Mankato, they're going out to South Dakota State, and then school, there are coaches that there's schools from the capital region of Washington D.C. to the Pacific Northwest coming in to check out talent. So it seems like it's not just it's not just Pinnacle here, because this is a broader thing. So that mentality, how much is that you think you guys can share with, say, Izzy in Chicago, in the suburbs of Chicago? There's a lot of Division II, Division III opportunities. D2 up into Parkside into Wisconsin, ton of Division III in the Chicago metro area. Maybe opening the eyes of those kids that, hey, you know what? There's more to life than wrestling than just Division I. You can have a great experience and win national titles, and it not be a job at, say, a Division II, Division III, the NAIA. So I'm curious on the you've got elite level coaches that have been at the highest level. I'm just curious on the sharing of ideas when pitching where kids should go.
Yeah, well, like that will be a great thing. So one of the things we're doing at this event is Izzy's having basically a coaches social at his house. He's at everybody that's a coach that we've talked
That's
to.
worth the
Hey, you
price of
guys
attendance alone, just for the
come
social at
to
Izzy's.
Izzy's house. Meet people, do whatever, right? Like, so, like, there may be a lot of Illinois schools that are D2, D3 that I don't know, right? But there might be somebody that Izzy doesn't know. He might know him, but maybe doesn't know him, right? Like Virginia Tech, right? Jared Fair, another guy. We wrestled in the national finals. If we had the attitude to hate each other, we wouldn't talk to each other ever. But we became really close friends, even though we wrestled each other in the national finals. He actually has a huge recruiting weekend that weekend. He said, hey, I really like what you guys are doing. I want to support you. I want to support the league. I've changed my whole schedule around, even though we have a big recruiting weekend. I'm going to be there.
In
So that's aware
terms,
that, maybe these other guys don't know him. And that's a time, let's get to know him. Let's get to know all the coaches. If I don't know a coach, I'm going to go up to him and introduce myself. Here's what we do. Be nice to have your contact information to build the network.
there's also going to be a level of bragging rights here. So there's, is it, we're talking about how can people watch this type of thing, and who's going to determine? Is there a way a winner is going to be determined here, or is it there's no team score or anything? It's just competitive
we do
matches.
have a system in place. I'm not sure that it will be the best system. Like, this is our first event, so basically it's a little tricky. First event, I think it's going to be every person, right? And If you're in an A bracket, you score 10 points, 8 points, 6 points. If you're in a B bracket, you're scoring, 4 points, 3 points, 2 points, something. It's the system set up like that, to try to make it even, right? So if you have a bunch of people, in a B bracket and they're winning the B bracket, but they're not quite in the A bracket, they shouldn't get as many points necessarily as the person that. So it's a tiered team score too. The only thing we have to mess around with is, Izzy's got more people there than everybody else. So the question will be like in the future, do you pick 10? Do you pick 20 guys? Okay, who's got the least amount of kids here? Okay, that the number is 17. Everybody pick your 17, people that you want. Something like that. That is still up in the air, a little trial and error, but we all like to compete. So we were like, we got to have some type of competition. If we're going to rub it into, you know, people, I got to have a reason to do that.
But that seems to be in the level of importance on the totem pole. Whoever wins as a team seems less important as the development and giving the kids the competition. In a all right, you're going to hit some hammers. You guys, you're going to get better. And I'm kind of looking at this. Is there going to be like a system of promotion and relegation within these pools? All right, you won Tier B. You're moving up to Tier 1 next time. That would be interesting.
Yeah, could do that. Yep, absolutely.
Trying to bring that international soccer stuff to the U.S. We're so resistant. But other cool things. Well, one, people are going to want to know how to watch this. So we're streaming it somewhere. Where's the information there? Where we're going to be moving forward.
Right now, it's on Rockfin. Right, so PNL has its own rockfin.com/PNL Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be where it starts. I don't know where it will go after that. There's been a couple conversations with Flow. There's been conversations with Fight Pass. There's been small conversations like with Spartan Combat, things like that. So let's just, we'll just right now, this was the easiest way for us to try to deal with it. It's not maybe as efficient as Flow would be. We were a little late getting to Flow, I believe. They wanted like so much time, like, hey, we need like 12 weeks prep time. You guys are at week 10.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, but we'll see moving forward. This will be great. Izzy Martinez, I really need to give him a shout out, man. He has done an amazing job of setting this thing up. It is going to be a very well-run tournament. He's on like low sleep right now because he wants everything to be really perfect and smooth. And he's doing a tremendous job setting this thing up.
So if to your knowledge, if you're in the Chicago event, is this a spectator friendly event or is it we just?
It is. Yep. Anybody can come. Yep. I think there'll be a spectator fee of some kind. You know what I mean? But anybody, please come. Everybody that's in Minnesota, you want to drive to Chicago? It's only 6 hours. Let's go.
That's that Midwestern thinking. Growing up out east is like, how far is it? 2 hours? Here, if you're not putting a wall drug sticker on your car, did you really take a trip? I mean, come on. If you didn't drive 6 hours, it's not really a thing. So again, Aurora Christian in Aurora, Illinois, home of one Wayne Campbell. Those of you that are our age actually get that reference. So is it what dates we talking? Saturday, Sunday?
It's just Saturday. Yep. One event starts at 9:30, and we'll run it straight through. There's about 226 wrestlers or so. So we're hoping it can be run smooth. There's 8 mats. We got 10 refs. We had to bring in some big dogs from Minnesota. I had Hot Rod Frost get a team together. He heads up our Minnesota State refs, so he's got a good group coming down. So hopefully it's smooth and gets done like 4:30, 5 o'clock. That's the idea, but it's also our first event.
Now, when we get to the duels, I'm thinking, okay, you've talked about year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and duels don't come into play until later. I'm looking at this as going, man, this could be, the off-season equivalent to those, like the Blair Sem duel, for example. All right, PINnacle's going out and going to wrestle Young Guns and M2 and PA in a weekend. I mean, that could be, it's just you're getting these and it's freestyle. So again, we're promoting the Olympic styles of freestyle and Greco. So it's like, yikes! I mean, the potential this thing has. Again, the growth. Okay, you're gonna go down, and when you look at potential places to expand, I know that when the first 8 were out there, some of these clubs that weren't involved, like, hey, Seabolt's raised their hand. What about us? So I mean, the potential for growth models, and you guys have created demand. So because I'm intrigued, because coming in, it's like, what the heck is this? I want to know more about this. The world needs to know more about this. So again, it was really kind of a short window from the time it was announced to the time the kids were going to lace up the shoes and go. So what are we
Yeah.
looking timeline for future events and such?
So our next event is going to be in December, right? And that will be just middle school. That'll be 5th through 8th grade.
Right,
And that'll
because
be out in Valiant out in Arizona. We figured if it's winter and we have to travel, we're going to go to Arizona.
you know what? You and my wife are right on point with that type of thing, because we had a trip prior to all the NCAA championships. We need to go somewhere. We went somewhere warm. So I don't want to go to Fort Myers. Too many Minnesota people down there. So we went to Arizona. Minnesota people everywhere. So you're going to
Who wants to
probably
come to Minnesota in the winter, right? So that one is there,
ice
and then we will
fishermen.
do a
Yeah,
combined youth and high school, not youth, 5th through 8th grade, 5th through 12th grade in PA in April.
yeah. And so
We haven't
then,
locked down our dates yet because we have a couple things we're working on. With Papaluzio does a great World Classic,
mhm.
and I think it's really really special that they're bringing in foreigners. I think it's a big deal. Like Jory Volk just won the World Championships. He went to Journeyman in the spring and he wrestled 4 different foreigners, and they were all very very good matches. Like he was losing one match like 7-1, and came back and won like 12-8. Like
Well,
that's a very important process of being good, in the international level. You
and what's
have to you
also
have to wrestle them.
what's
So
also of note
without that
about,
event, who
sorry, go ahead.
knows? Maybe it would have been different for him. So we want to support that event because there's not many like it. So we're kind of trying to work our way around that, and we want to use it as a prep for U17 and U20s. So our windows are pretty small, but we're close to locking up a date.
Yeah, you got to wait the USA schedule as well and things like that. And one thing about Frank's event, it was a topic of discussion at the World Championships. So there's probably going to be some big news coming about the future and role certain factions worldwide are going to be playing in that event too, which is exciting. I don't want to spill the beans entirely on that one yet, but that's something that you start connecting everybody and putting them together, and it's. The developmental pipeline is going to be strong because we've seen how well our kids have done with, I guess, the rise. I don't want to say the rise of the super clubs because they've been around, but the clubs that you've now got your senior level athletes that are let's see what we got. A couple of Olympians, a couple world team finalists. We got, it's not just like the NCAA champ coming back and doing things. You got guys with the international chops at every single one of these places, and it's amazing to see. Again, the cooperation of where we're going to see this going. So thanks for breaking the ice on this a bit and kind of giving us a I don't even want to say a refresher, giving us a taste of what's to come here with the Premier National League. I know Ben Askren mentioned it on FRL this morning as we record this on Thursday, September 22nd. So a lot of stuff going to come out about this in the future, and I'm excited to see what's going on. Aurora Christian, Aurora, Illinois, with PINnacle, M2, Askren, Young Guns, Izzy Style, Valiant Prep, Cormier, and MWC. So you got a swath of the nation. You got some of the biggest names in the sport as far as all these coaches have been on teams that have traveled the world for these cadet and junior age groups too. So it's got bona fide chops already, and I love it.
Right on. I appreciate it.
All right, so for Jared Lawrence, he's got some bags to pack and get ready to head to Chicago. I'm Jason Bryant. Thanks for checking it out. Again, last bit, Jared, where can they follow information on this and social media accounts and such?
Like if you want to go to PNLWrestling.com, that's a website. It's pretty new. If you want to go to, streaming rights are rockfin.com/PNL Wrestling. That's where you're going to get most of the information.
All right, so for Jared Lawrence and the entire crew at the Premier National League, which, you know what? It's college football season. I'm going to spend some time to watch some wrestling this weekend. So check it out, and we'll keep you abreast of what's coming up with PNL in future episodes of Short Time. So as always, I'd like to thank you for spending your time with me, because you've always got time for Short Time.
All right, Jason. Thanks a lot.